So, all right. So for everybody who is just joining, we are giving everybody kind of a minute or two to get in because we have hundreds of people signed up for this Zoom call today. So if you have any particular things you were hoping to learn today, please feel free to put those in the chat box. As we go along, we're going to have you put questions in the question box, and Sophie and Sam, who are from RealVolve, are going to help me kind of make sure all those questions get answered. But if there's any commentary you want to make or just general things you're hoping to learn about, please put those in the chat box now, and I'll try to weave those things into my presentation as well. And then we'll maybe give everybody one more minute because I can still see we've got lots of people streaming in before we get started. So we've got lots of people from Virginia, Central Massachusetts. That's great. I saw a bunch of people from Colorado, where Dave and I and Sophie live. So excited that you all are here. Baton Rouge. I was just in Baton Rouge, Jerry. I don't know if you came to my class there 2 weeks ago. I just did one for the Baton Rouge Association of Realtors. So, all right. Hello, Florida. That sounds like lovely weather right now. Honolulu. I always get jealous of the Honolulu people. I'm like, I want to be there. So
what were we just talking about? Before the call, we were talking about spam musubi.
Yes,
I get enough of it.
Totally. So Dave loves spam, and so does my husband. So I was saying how for Easter yesterday, I gave my husband a huge gift basket filled with cans of spam, was his Easter basket, because he loves spam musubi, which we get everywhere when we go to Hawaii. So all right, well, Dave, do you think we should go ahead and get started?
Yes, let's get started. Hello, RRC. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are excited to present a webinar by Shay, Systems, how top realtors solve for their problems before they arrive. So I am Dave Crumby. I am the CEO of RealVolve. We're a software company that has served high-producing agents and teams for about 8 years now. So eventually in the system, we're going to talk about RealVolve, how we may be able to help you. But rest assured, the meat of this session is very powerful. The principles, practices, tactics that you're going to get from Shay, if you just walk away with 1 or 2 ideas, it's going to be time well spent. So I wanted to share some behind the scenes of the nature of a lot of the conversations I have with those who they just really analyze our market. And this weekly, I probably get 5 inquiries from either Wall Street firms, venture capitalists, private equity groups, and they just want to kind of pick my brain on a space. And a lot of them, they do a ton of research up front. On Friday, I had a call with a company that wants to deploy $1 billion into our industry to serve real estate agents. And what I found really interesting about the conversation was the years of research they did, and their ultimate finding was real estate agents are here to stay because consumers demand it. Further, he said after a couple decades and billions poured into companies to kind of get in a way of that bond between agents and consumers, they're convinced agents are here to stay. But there's still a lot of change occurring in our industry, and now more than ever, systems and process are hugely important. There's 3 C's in life: choice, chance, and change. You have to make a choice, to take a chance, to bring across the change that you want. And once that becomes a part of our mindset, the future is no longer a scary place once you have mastered that art of reinventing yourself and focusing on your process and your systems. In fact, I'm a big believer in setting goals. I have learned the hard way that it is systems and processes that are the most important. So before I turn it over to Shay, who I think needs no introduction, she's a celebrity at Revolve, but what blows me away, Shay has created the business that most agents dream of. So we're excited to turn it over to her. We're going to have Sam and Sophie from RealVolve who will be on answering all your questions. We're going to have a great time. I hope you enjoy it, get a lot of value. Shay, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dave. I'm excited to be here with everybody from RRC. So we are going to jump right in, and I'm going to try to share with you today a bunch of systems that allow me to run my business. So some of these might be ones that you are already doing. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of new things in here as well. For those people who maybe just joined us late, we do have the chat box open and the Q&A box. Questions that you have should go in the Q&A box. Sophie and Sam from RealVolve are going to try to help me answer those. So they're going to type in a bunch of answers, or if there's something I need to answer live, they'll flag that for me and I'll try to answer it live. And then in the chat box, that's a great place to just put commentary that you want to share with the group. Maybe you're doing something that works really well. Please feel free to put that in the chat box, and then questions in the chat box. I always like to start this off by just saying, look, I am not the best realtor in the world in any way, shape, or form. I'm not the best realtor in Chicago where I practice real estate. I'm sure I'm not the best realtor on this webinar today, and that is okay. I am simply here to share with you what has worked for me and what I'm doing so that you can maybe take a few things from that and put them into what you're doing. I think that real estate should be very collaborative and that we should all be helping each other. In my opinion, there is plenty of business for all of us. And so let's share our tips and tricks with each other. They're not all going to work for everybody, and that's okay. That's the beauty of real estate. But maybe today you'll find one or two tips or tricks that works for you to help make you more efficient. Okay, so let's dive right in. So the first thing I want to start off with is a little poll. What systems are you struggling with the most? Okay. And Sam just put the poll up on the screen. Is that you don't really have a good CRM, or you don't, maybe you have one and you don't know what to do with it. You're not sure that you're utilizing it to its fullest potential. Maybe you don't have a website and you're not even sure why you should have a website. Would it be helpful for you to have, right? Maybe you're having trouble converting leads, okay? Maybe you're having trouble with the transaction. I do a lot of coaching with realtors from around the country. And I talked to one earlier today and she was like, I'm great up until inspection. And then from inspection to close, I don't know what to talk to my clients about. So I just kind of avoid them and I don't know what I should be talking with them about, right? Maybe you're having trouble with efficiency, time blocking. You don't know, you're working, 28 hours out of every 24-hour day, or you feel like that, right? And you're not actually getting things done, and you feel like you don't have time to work out, to get enough sleep, to spend time with your family and your friends, right? So take a second, put your answers in the poll here, and then in just a second, we will show those answers so that everybody can kind of see where people are struggling, and hopefully I can help give you some ideas to fix the problems that you're struggling with today, okay? So we'll give everybody just another maybe 30 seconds because we still have about 70 people who haven't had a chance to answer the poll yet. So a couple more seconds and then we will show the results of that. Quick question we always get asked is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is going to be recorded. They will send the recording out to you, but that takes about a day or two for that to happen. So today's Monday, I would say if you don't see the recording by, Sam, what do you think, like Thursday to follow up with you, but they should have it by then? What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, we should have it by tomorrow. So if you guys
Okay.
aren't seeing it in your inbox by tomorrow, then let us know.
Perfect. All right, Sam, can you go ahead and share the results of the poll? All right, so here we go. So it looks like the number one thing, you guys should see this on your screen in just a second, if you're not already, is efficiency systems. So time blocking, workflows, task lists. People feel like they are not being efficient with their time. And then the number two thing people are having problems with are their CRM, followed by lead conversion and marketing. So that's great. A lot of this presentation is actually going to start with kind of efficiency systems and the CRM and the website and things like that. So hopefully this matches up with a lot of the problems that you guys are already having. So let's jump right in, okay? All right, so here we go. So who am I? So I am a residential realtor in the Chicagoland area. I actually live in Denver, which is kind of a whole conversation in of itself. I have been a realtor for about 11 years. My husband, we used to live in the Twin Cities, and then my husband took a job with the National Association of Realtors, which is why we moved to Chicago at the time. I started in my real estate business. When we got to Chicago, I had been in completely different businesses before then. And when I got to Chicago, I didn't know a single person. So it was really hard to get started in real estate because I had a sphere of zero in Chicago. I didn't know anything about Chicago. I didn't know anything about real estate other than my husband has been in real estate for a couple of decades. So I had watched him to get started, but I started basically from scratch, right? And my philosophy was that if I put really good systems into place, my business would grow. And so that first year in business, that's what I did. I put systems into place. I built a lot of these systems then that I'm going to share with you today before I had a single real estate client. So my first year in business, I did one transaction for $131,000, and that was it. So that probably is very familiar to a lot of you if you think back to when you were new, or maybe you are a new agent and you're struggling. It's hard to get started in this business. I remember my husband told me that it would take 3 years to be successful and to do enough business to kind of have a decent salary at that point. And I was like, no way, I'm going to do it in a year. You know, everybody always thinks they're going to be the best at everything, right? And he was spot on. It took me 3 years to really start to have some decent income in this business. So my first year was one deal for 131,000. My second year, I was up to 7 million. By the beginning of my third year, I was about 15 million. And by the end of my third year, beginning of my fourth year, I was doing 30 million at that time. So it grew very rapidly, in part because of the systems that I put into place. So then during the beginning of the pandemic, my husband changed jobs. So we moved here to Denver. So now I've been running my real estate team in Chicago from Denver, and I go back about once a month to be there. So here's kind of how my team is structured. There are 2 other realtors, including myself, okay? I also have 4 part-time assistants. So we have about 50 hours of admin help for the team. As a team, we do about 175 transactions a year, about 75 million in volume is kind of what we're doing right now. So we have a transaction coordinator who works, she's our person who works the most, about 20 to 30 hours a week. She handles everything with RealVol. That is literally what she does. She handles everything with transactions, okay? Then we have a client concierge. She books inspections. She helps clients get their properties cleaned, painted. She handles our gift program. She also handles getting reviews from clients. She works about 5 to 10 hours a week. Then we have our marketing and event person. So she plans our events. She does all of our social media, all of our postcard mailings, our marketing, things like that. Same, about 10 hours a week. And then we have our runner. She works about 5 hours a week. That's a new agent in our office who basically just drops stuff off from us and runs errands. So she'll drop off lock boxes, flyers and brochures for open houses, gifts, things like that. So the way that we work is we assign 2 realtors to every client. Okay, so it's always myself. I work with every single client that we have. Usually at any given time, we have about 60 clients between buyers and sellers that we're working with. And then we have one other of the other realtors. So either David or Lauren, the other realtors on my team, they're assigned to that person. Okay, I handle all of the things that can be done remotely from Denver. So I handle the new client intake via Zoom, which I'm going to go over how we do that. I do the pricing analysis. I write the offers. I take care of the contract negotiations, the inspection negotiations, all of those kinds of things. So I'm essentially available to the clients whenever they would like to talk with me, with the caveat that I pretty much only work from 8 a.m. until 2:50 p.m. when I have to leave for the bus to pick up my son. So after that, my most important role is mom. So I am on mom duty from 2:50 p.m. until I put my son to bed at 8 o'clock. I will take a client phone call during that time if it's really important, like if we're negotiating an offer. Otherwise, everything else can wait. And then I'll do usually an hour's worth of work after I get my son to bed while I'm watching TV at night. I'll just catch up on stuff. Okay. So I am very strategic about when I work. Saturdays and Sundays are family time for me. So I will do a CMA or pricing analysis and I will negotiate an offer if I need to over the weekend, but nothing else gets done for me typically over the weekend. Okay. My realtor partner, so that would be Lauren or David on my team, they handle the showings, the inspections, the final walkthroughs. So they're out in the field. So when they come home, other than just setting up their showings for the next day, they are done. They don't have to deal with hundreds of emails because I've dealt with that during the day. They don't have to deal with planning events, gifts, etc., because our assistants have taken care of that. So it works really well for us as a team. We all have very good quality of life, where we can go on vacation and be completely gone. Somebody else on the team can fill in, whether that's an assistant filling in for another assistant, or whether that is a realtor filling in for another realtor. You know, if we're sick, having a baby, whatever, it doesn't matter. We can all have our time off, because I firmly believe you're doing real estate to have a good life. Real estate should not be your life. Okay. So to me, it's very important that I have time to work out. I work out every day, usually, that I have quality time with my family, with my friends, you know, that I can go get a massage, my hair done, whatever it is. That time is very important. And so my real estate supports that. My real estate does not take the place of me having a life. Okay. So I tend to do a lot of things over Zoom. I'm on Zoom all day kind of with my clients. So that's just kind of a brief overview of how I run my team. I know Andy asked, do I co-list with the other realtor and do you split the commissions evenly? So commissions are split 50-50 if it's a lead that I bring in or that comes from like the team sphere, like a past client, etc. Okay. If it is a lead that the team member, so Lauren or David, brings in on their own that has nothing to do with like past clients from the team that we've all worked with together, et cetera, then instead it's 60-40. So they get 60%, I get 40% because I want to reward them for bringing in their own leads. So hopefully that answers Chris's question about how do team members get paid. I do have a per transaction fee that each realtor pays per transaction. That's $350. And so that just helps cover the cost of gifts and things like that, because otherwise I pay for everything else, all the assistants, the gifts, the events, the pop-bys, etc. I know somebody asked, Chris has asked, am I going to bring this into perspective, a single realtor and systems? Yes. So this is kind of the only part that just explains how our team works. Everything else on this phone call, Chris today, or the Zoom call today, is going to be something that you can do as a single agent. Okay. And then we're going to jump right in. Salma, I did see your question. I'll try to answer that later. Okay. All right, so my philosophy has always been from the very beginning, if you are doing something regularly, it needs to become a system. So if I am saying something more than 2 or 3 times, if I am writing a text message, writing an email, having a phone call with somebody, and I am saying the same thing over and over again, that's when a light bulb goes off in my head and I go, okay, this is an inefficient use of my time. How can I turn this into a system? And more importantly, how can I automate that system so that I'm not having the same conversation over and over again, or writing the same email over and over again? And so that is how I have built all my systems. So everything in my business is systematized. Okay. And I think the important thing to think about is that just because you have a system for something, that doesn't mean that it's not still a personalized experience for that client. Because I think we have a misconception that if we systematize something, that's going to make it very depersonalized for the client, and it's going to be treating them like a number. And I vehemently disagree with that philosophy. My thought process is, if I can make things into systems where clients are getting the information that they need without me having to spend a lot of time doing that, it frees me up to have a very personal relationship with them, because that means I can be on the phone with them for an hour answering other questions that they have beyond the systems that we have, or maybe they're freaking out and I can be on there to calm them down, right? And talk them through whatever they're freaking out about, because I'm not bogged down in the admin work and the other things that need to happen, because I have systems for those. So it allows me more time to have that personal relationship with clients, take them out for dinners when I'm in town, send them gifts, all of those kinds of things, because I'm able to really step back from the day-to-day of the business, because I've automated all of that in the past. So let's look at how we handle some of our efficiencies. Okay, so just to kind of take a step back to everything, right? How I manage life is with Alexa devices. So I have Alexa devices all over my house, and they help me both with life and they help me with real estate, because my feeling is there is no way all of us can remember everything in our head that needs to happen. It's just not possible. And I'm not willing to have that mental load in my head. So anything that needs to get done, it is either in RealVolve, or essentially it is in my to-do list, or it is in Alexa. Okay. So down to managing my whole family. So you can see on here, this is kind of what wakes me up in the morning, is as I'm getting my son ready, it will tell him, hey, Oliver, it's time to, get your shoes on for the bus. It tells him it's time to put on your chapstick and hand moisturizer. Everybody get in the car at 7:35 a.m. Once my family gets out the door, the next thing it tells me is check your real volve. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a little bit later. But I have to check everything that I have to do that day at 7:40 a.m. It even reminds me to take my pills, give my dog his pills, order the groceries, right? So I have an Alexa in every room of my house, and it's set to constantly tell me what I need to do next. So I don't have to rely on trying to remember those things. I even have an Alexa in my car. So as I'm driving around and I think of, oh, I need to tell this client something, I say, Alexa, put on my to-do list that I need to do this. It comes up on my to-do list, right? Or groceries. I have a grocery list in here. So I'll say, Alexa, we're out of butter. I need to order butter. Everything goes on here so that I'm not trying to have it in my head, because we have too much of a mental load in our head, and you need to get that out of your head and into a system. Okay. So for me, Alexas work really well for everybody in my family. So everything we need to do as a family is in here with reminders to leave and get ready for the bus so that I'm to the bus on time and I'm not late. Okay. Then beyond that, I have some particular things that I do every day. To take a step back for a second, I do not spend 4 hours a day lead generating. A lot of coaches are going to tell you to do that. I do not get clients from cold calling, working for sale by owners, expireds, door knocking. I don't do any of that. So my system is not that I get up in the morning and I spend 4 hours on the phone lead generating. I don't think that works for most people, and I don't find it to be an efficient use of time. So essentially, these are kind of my only parameters for the week. Monday, I try not to schedule anything, as it's always a busy day. So this is a rare exception that I'm doing a Zoom call on a Monday, because normally that's a busy day for me with clients having lots of questions. So I want to carve that time out for them and for the work that I need to get done, because I didn't spend all weekend doing work. Okay. Before I get out of bed in the morning, I typically check real volve. Okay. If I didn't do that already at 7:40 a.m., Alexa reminds me to check real volve of all the tasks that I have to do that day, so I know what my plan is for the day. I'm going to show you what those tasks look like. Every Monday and Friday, I text every client that we're actively working with while I walk the dog. That is my routine, okay? I walk my dog every single day for an hour, and that is my catch-up time on text messages and phone calls with people. So every Monday, I text every client that we're currently either under contract with, getting ready to put their property on the market, or we're actively showing them properties to try to find them a property to buy. And I'll just say, like, hey, how was your Easter yesterday? Do you need anything from me today? On Friday, I'll say, like, hey, we had the inspection yesterday. We should have that report back on Monday. So I'll go over it with you then. Meantime, is there anything you need from me before the weekend? Okay. Because what I have found is clients oftentimes have a lot of questions for you, but they don't want to feel like they are bothering you. So they don't reach out to ask those questions. So you need to be very proactive in your communication with them. And I want to communicate that with them during a time that works for me, because I don't want them to be texting me on a Saturday at 4 o'clock and they want an immediate answer and I'm out enjoying time with my family. So I proactively reach out to them Monday mornings when I walk my dog, and Friday mornings. So if they need something from me, I can get it done during the day on Monday and Friday. And now hopefully I've answered all their questions so that they can hold on to any additional questions until Monday. So I think you have to be really proactive in your communication with clients. Okay. And oftentimes I find that they do have, they'll respond back and be like, well, actually, I did have a question for you, but I did not want to bother you. Right. So, typically I find that those communications with them are very, very helpful. Okay. I also have working hours, as I talked about. You might have different hours from me, but I try to do all my work within those hours. And I'm pretty firm on that. So when clients want to talk to me, I'm like, great, can I talk to you tomorrow at 10? Right. Obviously, if we're doing a negotiation or it's urgent, I will talk with them that day or that night. But most of the time, if it's something little, it can wait until the next day, because we are not saving lives here. Like, clients may think we are, they may feel like we are, but we are not saving lives. I am not doing organ transplant, right? So if they want to talk to me about setting up their homeowner's insurance and it's 6 o'clock at night and I'm having dinner with my family, that conversation can wait until the morning. Okay. And I don't lose clients. I'm obviously doing 175 transactions a year. So, clients are typically respectful of your time. Okay. One thing I have found that really helps me is that I don't like the rush of a client wanting to put an offer in and then you're go, go, go. Let's try to get this offer in. Let's try to send it to them. Let's try to explain what it is to them. So one of the things that I make a point of is with every buyer and seller, before we get to the point of an offer coming in, I have set up a Zoom call with them during my working hours. I pull up the contract. I go through it with them line by line so that they are very familiar with the contract. On the sell side, they can ask me any questions they have. On the buy side, we can go over options for them. Like maybe we might have to offer as is, maybe we might have to bridge appraisal gap, right? I can do that ahead of time. So when the point comes in to write an offer, I can get an offer out in 15 minutes and they can sign it. I'm not then having to take all this time to explain to them. So be proactive about what you are doing so you're not always scrambling, okay? And I typically with clients try to schedule calls while I'm driving so that I am multitasking and really using that time wisely, okay? So how I manage text messages. So I hear from coaching clients all the time that they're inundated with text messages all day and things fall through the cracks because they lost what they were supposed to do in their text messages. So one of the things that I do, and I'm only familiar with iPhone, so if you use an Android or something else, you have to see if it does that on your phone as well. But on iPhone, once you've read a text message, if it's something I need to either go back and do, or it's something that I need to have a response from, like this was literally my screen from this morning. I was waiting for a showing request to come in for my client Itamar. So then I push it to the right, which means that I can mark it as unread. So now all of those unread messages I can go back to later and remember that I'm waiting for responses on those messages, or those messages are something that I need to do. So each day I'm not scrolling through all my text messages trying to figure out what still needs to get done. And then what's nice about this is an iPhone, you can go to the message section and I can just pull up my unread messages, which is what you're seeing in the middle of the screen here. And I know these are the 12 things I need to follow up on. All the rest of my text messages, I don't have to worry about and I don't have to deal with because they've already been taken care of, okay? So then how do I manage my to-do list, right? So very simple for me, I just use the reminder app on my phone that comes with the iPhone. Anytime I need to do something, it goes in that reminder app. So you can see this is literally my reminder list from today of what I need to do. So some of it is real estate. I want to go get a pedicure today. So that's on my to-do list, right? I need to sign my son up for snowboard camp. So that's on there too. I need to make a haircut appointment. But in here, I've got other searches I need to set up. I've got, photos I need to send to Box Brownie. So everything goes into this to-do list so that I always have one place where everything is, okay? And then if it's something that maybe I don't have time to put into my to-do list right now, I'll take a screenshot of it on my phone in my camera section. So you can see I need to hear back from Lauren on my team about if she wants to do an open house both days this weekend or just one day at a new listing. I didn't have time to put that in my to-do list. So I just screenshotted it. And then at night, I'll go through my camera roll and I'll see, was there anything in there that didn't get done that I need to put into my to-do list to do tomorrow? Okay. So I use that camera section a lot. And then I transfer things to my to-do list. So everything is always in one section there. So you have to figure out a system that's going to work for you and stick with it. It does not have to be complicated. Okay. So Judy asked on the iPhone, where's the reminder app? So it looks like this. I don't know if you can see that, but it comes with your iPhone and it's literally just a reminder app that you can put in there. So you go up to the search feature on your iPhone, you can just type in reminders and you should be able to find it there. Okay. All right. And then Cheryl Smith, I think I answered your question about the to-do list app. I just used the reminder app that came with my iPhone. All right. So let's jump in now to how do I manage emails? Okay. Because I always hear from coaching clients and real estate agents I talk with that they're bogged down in emails, they're bogged down in text messages, etc. Okay. So something that works well for me in emails is email templates. Because again, I found in real estate, I was writing the same message over and over again. So every time I submitted an offer, I was writing an email that's like, hey, here's our offer, here's our close date, etc. Right? I do a lot of lender introductions of buyers where I will introduce them to the lender. Okay. So this, in most email programs, there is an email template section where you can store emails. So you're going to see right here, I use Gmail. They also have the same thing in Microsoft Outlook. So look and see if whatever email system you use has a template section. If so, start to create emails and save those in those template sections. So I'm going to show you some examples of some of mine, right? So when I have a new client who reaches out to me, okay, I have a template in my email that I use for that. So I do not pick up the phone when somebody calls me and it is a phone number I don't recognize. Okay. And I don't pick up the phone unless it's an emergency from a client after 3 o'clock. Everything goes to voicemail. So most of my business, about 80 to 90% of my business, depending on the year, is referrals from my sphere and from past clients. So usually those referrals will come in via email, they'll come in via text, or they'll come in via phone call. Okay. If they come in via phone call, I will let it go to voicemail. Usually they leave me a voice message. And if they do, I like to respond back to people within a couple of minutes. So I try to get back to people within 5 minutes if I can. And what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I just got your voicemail. I'm in the middle of something right now, so I'm not able to pick up, but it's really important to me that we set up a time to talk. Like, your business is important to me, essentially, is what I want to say to them. Can I have your email address? I'm going to email you a link to my calendar so you can schedule a time to talk with me. And I'm also going to email you a link to a survey I'd like you to fill out so that I can learn more about, you wanting to sell your house or you wanting to buy your house, whatever it is. And so I try to get their email address. Same thing if they text me and they say, hey, I just got your name from Mary Johnson and I'm looking to buy a house. Can I set up a time to talk with you, or can you give me a call? I'll respond back and say, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm in the middle of a meeting right now, so I can't talk, but I'd love to set up a time to talk with you. What is your email address? And I'm going to email you a link to my calendar and a survey for you to fill out. So you can see this is an example of an email in my email template section. This is kind of an older one because you can see at the bottom, we had information about how we were keeping them safe during COVID. We've now taken that off. But what I'll do is I'll get that buyer's email address. I will put it in here, and then I will CC my business partner. So either Lauren or David, the other realtor on my team. And I hit send and off it goes to them. And now from there, they're able to have a link to my calendar here where they can go ahead and schedule a meeting with me during the parameters and times that work for me. And from there, they also have this ready to buy survey, which I'm going to show you in just a second, where it's going to ask them how many bedrooms do they want, how many bathrooms, what's their time frame for moving, so that I'm not having to spend an hour on the phone taking that information down for them at a time that is not good for me. And frankly, it's an inefficient use of my time, right? They can fill that survey out at night while they're watching TV in about 20 minutes. I can get the survey results and look at them in about 5 minutes. And then we can schedule that follow-up phone call. And now that follow-up phone call is much more efficient for both of us because we've already gotten a lot of the questions out of the way. Okay, so we have a ready to buy survey, we have a ready to sell survey, and we have a ready to buy and sell survey for people who are going to both buy and sell. Okay, so for the calendar function, I use Calendly. Anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty cheap. So I like things that are free. One of the things that is nice about Calendly is that it's free if you are only hooking up one calendar to it. Okay. So if you're hooking up more calendars to it, then you need to have a paid version, which is somewhere between $18 and about $16. So not very expensive a month. And then it connects all of your calendars. So as long as you are religious about putting everything in your calendar, then it will show clients what time you have free to talk with them. So I use this when somebody wants to go over inspection reports with me. I'll send them a link to my calendar and say, hey, we're going to get the inspection report on Tuesday morning. Why don't you pick a time on Tuesday or Wednesday for us to go through it? And that way we have a time reserved, right? So I use this for new clients. I use this for inspections. If I'm going to do that phone call, that Zoom where I want to go over the contract with somebody, I'll send them a link to my calendar. So this is just an efficient way to get people scheduled. So you're not trading emails back and forth with them being like, hey, does Tuesday at 10 work for you? And they're like, no, it doesn't. Can I do Thursday at 4? And you're going back and forth. To me, that's just an inefficient use of time. Okay. So then as far as the survey that they fill out, this is on my website. If you want to take a look at it, it's buyselllovechicago.com. Sam or Sophie, can you maybe put that link in the chat box for people? So buyselllovechicago.com. And then you're going to see there's a buyer section. If you click on that, you'll see a ready to buy survey. On the seller section, there's a ready to sell survey and a ready to buy and sell survey. And so then I'll just send them the link to the particular survey that they need to fill out. And then they can fill that out on their own. And then I can have it available when I do the Zoom call with them. Okay. And it will ask them all the questions about what are they looking to buy, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, is there going to be a decision maker besides them, maybe a parent's involved? And then you can really ask them awkward questions in there that you may not feel super comfortable asking them on the phone. Like, it's really awkward to ask somebody if you've just met them, hey, do you have kids? Are you planning to have kids? Like, that's a mining field, right? But I find if you ask them that question in a survey, it doesn't feel so strange for them to answer it because they know you're asking that same question of everybody. It also allows you to be better about complying with fair housing because everybody is getting treated the exact same way. Okay, so I made these forms via Google Forms. So if you have a Gmail account, you'll have access to Google, right? It's free for you to use. You don't have to be tech savvy to make these. They are very easy to make. It took me about an hour or two to set up. And then from there, you either can have a hyperlink you can put in the email, or you can embed them in your website if you have a website and send them the link to your website. So very simple solution, very simple system that to me is a game changer and saves me hundreds of hours a year. Okay. So a couple of people asked some questions about Karen asked, can we get a copy of the ready to buy or sell survey? I can't send you a copy of that, Karen, but it's on the website, buyselllovechicago.com. So you're welcome to take a look at it there. Please just don't click through to the very end of the survey and like finalize the survey. Otherwise, after I do these classes, I get 100 surveys that are just blank. And so my team is spending time going through them. So please feel free to take a look at them. Just don't click all the way through like you're going to actually submit a blank survey. Okay. And then Greg asked, is there a reason you don't use RealVolve mobile on your phone? I do, so I'm going to show you that as well. Okay, so I think that's kind of everybody's questions. Oh, does Calendly sync with the RealVolve calendar? That's a great question that I don't know the answer to. Sam or Sophie, do you know if Calendly can sync with RealVolve's calendar?
So yes, if Calendly connects to Google Calendar with which we sync. Perhaps if you have Calendly linked up with any other calendars, but then we may need a third-party integration to establish an integration with RealVolve.
Got it. Okay. So as long as people are using like a Gmail calendar and your RealVolve hooks up with your Gmail calendar, which is what mine does, then everything should be on the Calendly as well if they're combined together, correct?
That is correct. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, great. Somebody asked Cheryl, does Outlook work the same? Like, does Outlook hook up with RealVolve? Do you know?
Yeah, so same thing again. Really, the only calendar which we integrate directly is part of G Suite, right? So your Google Calendar. All other calendars can be integrated, but there's always going to be the need for a third party to facilitate that integration.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So hopefully we answered those questions. All right. So then from there, so that kind of takes care of our like new clients when they come in, kind of what our system and process is for that, right? So then from there, start to think about other email templates that you can create, okay? So we have like an offer attached email template that we have in here. So anytime I'm submitting an offer, I just pull up that template. I'm going to change the name, the closing date, the amount, attach it, and off it goes, right? So I'm not having to rewrite those emails over and over again. Same thing for multiple offer submissions. So we have an email template for multiple offers where we offer to like buy a home warranty for the seller's new house to help win, or have the house cleaned, something like that. So we have this offer submission email template, so I can just change a little bit in here, but I'm not having to rewrite it, and I can submit that as well, okay? So think about other ideas for one-off emails. So I use offer submission. I have an earnest money instruction email template so that I can send that to the buyer when I'm representing the seller and say like, hey, we're under contract. Here's some information for submitting your earnest money, right? I've got those new client intakes and those lender introductions that I talked about. Then I have a lot of kind of one other pop-off emails that I save in my CRM that we send out through RealVolve that don't necessarily have to do with the transaction. And I'm going to show you those transaction ones in a second. So things like, if it's really cold outside and I'm worried about their pipes freezing, I have an email I pull up in RealVolve. I send out to everybody out in my database saying, hey, I'm worried about your pipes freezing tomorrow because it's going to be really cold. Here's what you need to do to keep them from freezing. Here's what you do if they freeze. And here's who I recommend you call if they freeze to come out and help you, right? So, things like Maybe you have one that goes out to everybody about shutting off their sprinklers on their lawn at the beginning of the fall and turning them back on in the spring. Maybe it's something like what your homeowner's insurance should cover, so everybody can make sure that they have sewer backup and flood insurance and all those kinds of things. Maybe it hailed really badly in your area, so you want to have an email that you can send out to everybody in your database being like, hey, that was really bad hail. I'm worried about your roof. Here are my recommended roofers if you want to call them and have them come out and check your roof, right? So those should be all things you write once, and then you save in your CRM like RealVolve to send out to everybody, okay? So let's kind of dive now into some of the workflows that I use. So a lot of my email communication with my clients has been automated, okay? So I have those email templates that are for one-off things that I'm going to send manually, but everything else I try to automate. So for my CRM, I use RealVolve, okay, the sponsor of today's class. And I've been using it for maybe 8 or 9 years, something like that. And what I like about RealVolve is that in particular for clients under contract, I can put milestone dates in the contract and it will send out automatic communication based on those milestone dates. So what I mean by that is I can say, hey, I want this email to go out to the buyers the day before the inspection, reminding them that the inspection is tomorrow, they should bring a tape measure, please don't eat in somebody's house, etc. But then I also want an email to go out to the sellers, reminding them of the inspection tomorrow and letting them know that I need to make sure that we have clear access to the electrical panel and the utilities, right? Please don't have anything in the washing machine because we need to run the washing machine, right? So all of those kinds of things. I can also have reminders go out based on the appraisal. So I can have a notice go out to my clients saying, hey, appraisal is happening today. Here's what an appraisal is. Here's what happens if it comes in low. Here's what happens if it comes in at purchase price. Here's what it means if it comes in high, right? So you can have all of those communications go out based on those milestone dates. That's really why I started to use RealVolve, because pretty much most of the other workflows or CRMs out there don't allow you to do communications based on milestone dates. They only allow you to do communications based on the start date of the workflow. And that doesn't work in a real estate transaction, because we might have a cash deal that closes in 14 days. We might have a finance deal with a loan that's 45 to 60 days. And then we might have new construction that's 12 months. And so I need those communications to go out based on when we hit milestones, such as inspection, clear to close date, final walkthrough date, things like that. And those are going to be all different time periods depending on the type of transaction. So it doesn't work to just have those email communications go out based on the start date, okay? So in my RealVolve program, I have 7 workflows that are automated for clients. So I have a prospective buyer workflow. So that's a buyer, maybe we meet in an open house, who's not quite ready to buy yet, okay? They might be ready to buy in a year or two, but I want to stay in front of them so they remember my name and want to work with me when they're ready to buy. So that's going to be things like ways to improve their credit score. Can I cancel a contract once I go under contract? How much money do I need for a down payment, right? So I'm educating them. Then I have the buyer current workflow. So that workflow is going to be buyers who are ready to actually buy. So they're in the process of getting pre-approved. We're taking them out to do showings. So I'm talking to them about things like, what is an as-is offer? What do I do in a highest and best situation? Are estimates accurate, right? I'm answering questions that they may have as they're getting ready to put an offer in. Then I have the buyer under contract workflow. So that one takes buyers from under contract through close. That's the one that's going to remind them of the inspection. The day after the inspection, it's going to say, hey, you're going to get your inspection report tomorrow. Here's a link to my calendar. Schedule a time. We'll hop on a call. We'll go over it together, right? Then we have the workflows on the sell side. So prospective seller, that's a seller who maybe isn't ready to sell for a year or two, but I want to stay in front of them, okay, with information about things they can be doing to get their house ready now to sell in the future. That seller current workflow is going to be sellers who are ready to go on the market. Maybe they're not ready for 3 months or 6 months, but they're ready to start to get there, right? So I'm going to be talking to them about filling out the listing paperwork, repairs they can do to their house. Should we do a pre-inspection? Should we do a pre-appraisal? All of those kinds of things, updates they can do to their house. That's going to take them through the listing paperwork, through photography, through getting on the market, through open houses until we get under contract. Then they move to our seller under contract workflow. That's going to take them from under contract through close, okay? Then we have our closed client workflow. So that is a 15-year follow-up program for clients, because on average, as of last fall, clients now think they are going to stay in their houses for 13 to 15 years. It used to be, when I got in the business, about 5 years is how long people stayed in their house. Then it moved to 7 years. Now, because houses are more expensive, people are planning to stay in them longer. So you need to have a 15-year follow-up program to stay in contact with those clients, because 88% of buyers and sellers say they would work with their agent again when they go to buy and sell in the future, but only 12% do. And the reason that number is so low is because they cannot remember your name when they go to buy again and sell in 5, 10 years, because most realtors do not do a good job staying in contact with them after the transaction closes. Okay, so that's one of the nice things that RealVolve can help you with, is it can help you stay in contact with all of these different clients depending on where they are in the transaction flow, as long as you set up the workflows. Okay, so what I did was figured out what those 7 workflows were going to be, and then I sat down and I wrote each step of that workflow. So for example, for buyer under contract, when I sat down and I thought about all the emails that need to go out to everybody involved in the transaction, the lender, the clients, the title company, etc., and all the manual tasks that have to get done, that ended up being 109 steps. Okay, out of those 109 steps, I think we have about 95 of them that are automated. So there are only a few things we have to manually do, like order the home warranty, turn the sales worksheet into our office, things like that. Everything else we've been able to automate. Okay, so you have to really sit down and write out each step of the process. Then from there, just like you created email templates in your Gmail or your Outlook, you have to create email templates for every step of the transaction, okay, or every step of staying in contact with a client after the transaction ends, right? So this is an example of our buyer under contract workflow. You can see these things are going out after the start date, but as we get deeper into the workflow, it starts to go out based on those milestone dates, inspections, appraisal, etc. And we've been able to automate most of these. These are all email templates that just start to go out to people once we start this workflow for them based on those milestone dates, okay? I like the emails to be short in RealVolve. So this is a picture of what an email looks like in RealVolve when I'm setting it up. So ideally, I don't want the email to be longer than 1 or 2 paragraphs. I want them to be able to look at it on their phone, okay? If it's going to be longer than that, then I link through to my website, okay? So I think I have an example, yep, of here, right here. So then I link it through to my website, so that way, if they read it and they go, oh, that looks like interesting information, I want to learn more about that, they can click on my website. It will take them through to my website where they can read the additional information, but that way the email is not super long. So I have a very high open rate in RealVolve, because clients know I am only sending them information that relates to exactly what is going on with them. I'm not sending them recipes and things that they don't need. I'm sending them basically what happens next, and it's information they need to know. Like when we go under contract, I'm saying, hey, you need to schedule the inspection. Here's my 3 recommended inspectors, schedule it and let me know who you've used, right? Like these emails they need to follow in order to move the process along in the transaction. But again, I don't want them to be too long. So that's why I link them to my website. The nice thing about that is that because I have so many people reading my emails, I have about 30,000 unique visitors going to my website every single month. And they're coming oftentimes through these links in my emails. Google likes that. They like having a lot of unique visitors, and they like a lot of custom content on your website. So my SEO rankings naturally are very high because of the amount of traffic I have coming to my site on its own. So I don't have to pay for like high placement on Google and things like that, because when somebody searches for a real estate agent in Chicago, I tend to naturally come up high because of how many people I have visiting my website on a monthly basis. One of the other nice things that I do in RealVolve is I have reminders and text messages set up in here. So you can see these are my text messages after a client closes. So you can text them directly from RealVolve through the RealVolve system. So a week after closing, they'll get an automated text from me, which they don't realize is automated, but it'll go to them and it'll just say, hey, how'd the move go, right? And then I can start that text conversation with them. 1 month after the transaction closes, they'll get another one that just says, hey, how's everything going at the house? Or how are you liking the neighborhood and your neighbors, right? And then it starts that communication with them. So the nice thing is RealVolve gets that communication started with them. And then if they respond back, I can continue to talk with them. So I also have them every 6 months after the transaction closes, set up through RealVolve for text to go out to them. You can also, RealVolve has a dialer program. So if you're a person who likes phone calls instead, I don't like to talk on the phone, but maybe you do, you can set this up so it prompts you to call them instead. You can call them through RealVolve and you can actually record the conversation in RealVolve. So I think a great use for that is if you ever have a conversation with a client that you think may go sideways and maybe they're going to threaten to sue you, or you think something in that conversation could come back later to bite you in the butt, call through the RealVolve dialer program so you can record that conversation. So if they come back and they say, hey, you told me to only use this inspector and I didn't like him and he didn't find this problem and now I'm going to sue you, you could say to them, well, actually, I told you to use 3 different inspectors. Here's a recording of that phone call. So, you can't sue me, right? So it's a nice legal protection to have those phone calls recorded in that dialer program. One of the other things I like about RealVolve is that every morning on the app, I can pull the app up and I get a list of all of the automatic emails that are going to go out from me to my clients via RealVolve. So this is what I check every morning. It also shows me in here in my to-dos. So say, for instance, like there was a text message that was going to go out to a client being like, hey, how are you liking the new house? I had actually talked to them yesterday. They had reached out to me about a question they had. So I'd had a conversation. So it didn't make sense for that text message to go out. So I was able to just open it up and essentially skip it. So now it doesn't go out to them. So I like that with RealVolve, I have that last check every morning before things go out so that I can, like, if I have a deal that's looking like it's going to fall apart and my email to them is, hey, get your second earnest money payment ready. I don't want that email to go out if I think they're going to cancel the transaction that day. So I can say, hey, we're going to push this email out 2 days later so that I can see if this deal stays together, or I can just skip it completely and not have it go out. So it's a nice last minute check. So you get that, you can pull up the app and use the app for that. I also get an email that comes in my email every day with a list of these same things. So I can print that out for any to-dos and go through them, or I can just transfer the to-dos to my to-do list. So it's all in one place as well, okay? So those things work really well for me. Linda asks, is it legal to record client calls without letting them know ahead of time? So my understanding is that varies in every state. So you would have to find out if that is legal in your state or not. Sophie, Sam, I don't know if you want to chime in with anything different on that answer.
No, that's exactly right, Shay. Yeah, you got to always make sure to check your state laws for 2-party consents on that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So something else that I use to be more efficient with my time is my website. Okay. So on my website, I have hundreds of blog posts that I use with clients when they ask me questions. So for instance, they'll ask me, are Zestimates accurate? And rather than having a 5 or a 10-minute conversation with them, I can say to them, you know what, as soon as we get the phone, I'm going to send you a link that I wrote to a blog post on my website that explains that, right? And then when we get off the phone, I get that link, I shoot it over to them in a text message and I say, take a look at this and let me know if you have any other questions. I'm happy to hop on a call afterwards and answer your questions, right? So I use this for all sorts of commonly asked questions I get from clients. So highest and best offers. If I know we're going to be in a highest and best offer situation, I have a blog post on that. I send it to my client and I say, hey, offers are due Monday at noon. We are in a highest and best situation. This blog post explains what that means and all of your options. So in that blog post, it explains to them things like they can offer a price escalation rider. And then if they don't know what that is, they can click on that link. It takes them to this other blog post you can see on the screen that explains to them what a price escalation rider is and how that works. It talks to them about love letters, and it gives them examples of love letters. It talks to them about what is appraisal gap coverage. Should they offer that? How does that work? Okay. It talks to them about maybe they should make the offer as is. They can click on the as is link and it'll bring another blog post up that explains what as is offers are, right? So usually that would be a 20 or 30-minute phone conversation with clients. Now they can read through that on their own when they're ready. They can refer back to it. They can send it to a spouse. They can send it to a family member. So everybody can get on the same page. And then if they have follow-up questions, I'm happy to hop on the phone and answer their follow-up questions. But usually this takes care of all of their questions, and I'm saving myself a 30 minutes of time, not having to explain the same thing about highest and best offers to 100 or 200 clients over the course of the year, right? So again, remember, if you are doing the same thing more than once, think about how can you create a system for it, okay? And a website is a great place to house all that information in your brain, right? So RealVolve has a website provider, FirePoint. It's fantastic. So if you don't have a website, I would say check out FirePoint, see if that would be a good website for you. Somebody had asked on the questions about IDX feeds, okay? I don't personally think it's super important that your website have an IDX feed, meaning people can search for homes on your website, because in my opinion, you're never going to compete with Redfin and Zillow and sites like that. Those sites are fantastic. They are beautiful, right? Where you can compete is with local information about how the real estate market is and works in your local market, because Zillow can't talk to me about how real estate works in Aurora, Colorado, where I live. They can't tell me if I can cancel the contract after I go under contract. They can't tell me if there's one earnest money or two earnest money payments or how much earnest money is going to be, right? That's where you as the realtor are the expert and need to be sharing that information with your client. And a great way to do it is put it on your website so they can access it 24 hours a day. And when they have a question, you can be like, I'm going to text you a link that answers that question for you. Okay. So we've got a couple minutes left. I wanted to talk about team communication real quickly. For those of you who have an assistant or who have a team, I love Slack. Again, Slack is free because I'm cheap. So Slack is a nice desktop and they have an app that you can use. Okay, so this is what the desktop version looks like. So what I do is I set it up with channels so that every single client has a channel, because when I started my team, I found I was getting inundated with emails and phone calls and text messages from the other members of my team, and it was hard to keep track of everything. So now as a team, all of our communication comes through Slack. So if you have an assistant, I would highly recommend using something like Slack and having all communication go there. So I do not text with my team members. I do not email with them typically. I don't do phone calls with them. Everything is done via Slack, okay? So so every client will have a channel. So you can see these are our current buyers. This is literally from today, a screenshot. So these are all of our current buyers. We have every seller has a channel as well. We have channels for baby gifts, open house. Somebody died. We have a channel in here for that. So we can send a gift to their family members, right? We have a channel for every single thing. So for instance, I put these people under contract last week. I uploaded the contract in here. I tagged my assistant Rhonda and said, hey, we're under contract. Then Deanne is the person on my team who sets up all the inspections. So I tagged her and I said, can you set a chimney scan for Tuesday between 1 and 3, right? And then later on, I said, can you set up Grout to come out and give a quote to get rid of some mold in the shower and regrout it, right? So everything is in here. Everybody knows what they have to do from here. And then people are not getting hundreds of emails and text messages and things. So when somebody gets tagged, that channel will bold so they know they've been tagged in something. They need to go in and check, okay? So this has really made us as a team much more efficient and myself much more efficient because I'm not having to check messages for everywhere. The nice thing about this is kind of like text messages. If there's something in here I need to do and I don't have time to do it then, I can unhighlight that message so that it looks like it hasn't been read. So I know to go back and do it later, or you can hook this up with a lot of to-do apps as well. So you can just click on it and then have it be a task in a to-do app instead, okay? So Slack is a great tool for those of you who have teams, right? And these are just some examples of kind of some of the other channels that we have. Our seller channel, our open house channel, so this morning I said I want an open house at this property and another property, et cetera, right? So It just makes things a lot easier. And then we always have a record in that channel of everything that we talked about for that particular client. Okay. So I am 1 minute over. So thank you everybody for coming. Hopefully that helped answer a lot of questions in terms of kind of some of the systems that we use. You know, we use a system for everything, so it wasn't possible to go into every system today, but hopefully that gave you some good ideas. I'm going to try to answer some of the questions I didn't have a chance to get to. If you had other questions, I'm happy to stay on a little bit longer. Feel free to put those in the chat and I will answer those in just a second. I am going to turn it over to Sam or Sophie to kind of wrap up. Then I'll stay on to answer these live questions and any other questions. So feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A while Sophie kind of wrap things up. Sam, Sophie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shay. So everybody, wanted to make you aware of some special offers and promotions we're doing for everyone that's on this call today. So it's realvolve.com/RRC. You get about $500 in free workflows. Ask us about workflows, right? So you can meet with us. You can start a free trial on that page, but workflows are an incredibly powerful tool. They're what Shay has built and used to scale to where she is today. And so you're going to get a lot of free workflows there. And overall, we just want to have a conversation with you guys. It's a really great platform and we're really excited to be able to share it with everybody today and have Shay share her process as well. So thank you, everyone. Again, realvolve.com/RRC.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the day. Go figure out some systems so you can have a life and go play golf and spend time with your family and things like that. Real estate should not be your life. So put some systems into place and go have a nice life, everybody. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.